So, hello, all of the viewers and participants of the Festival of Linoleum. Today we have a special event. The event about which I personally was dreaming for many years. Today we have the online workshop of a legendary Estonian film director, Priit. I would instantly like to apologize because we will be using Russian language today. This is the situation. So, hello Preet, hello Olga. Today we also have Olga Pyart, wife of Preet, and the co-author of his later films, with whom they did such wonderful films as Life Without Gabriella Ferry and the Pilots on the Way Home. They're doing more films now. I do hope we will be speaking about them as well. But the topic today is the film of 1991 or 1992, Hotel E, created by Priit in Free Estonia. This is the 30th anniversary of this film, and this film was selected by me for the workshop today because I really love that film. I can see that it is very modern. 30 years after the event, it has become again very relevant and very modern, reflects the situation which is now in Ukraine and in the world. So I would like to begin our conversation. Well, by the way, an interesting point. As for Estonia and Ukraine, for long years, we were under Soviet occupation. Both in Tallinn and in Kiev, there were animation studios, which existed at the state's expense. There were animators who were creating annually some number of films, and as soon as independence came, in Kiev, unfortunately, the studio stopped its existence because the funding stopped. And animators and artists were just to leave for the West. Some went to Poland, some to France, some to the US. Unfortunately, we lost those masters, and this is the situation in Ukraine. That now we have to restore the animation school from scratch. This knowledge, this expertise was lost. But as for Estonia, in spite of the similar situation, we had the same year of independence restoration. On the 24th of August, we are celebrating the Independence Day. But Estonian animation survived. It had this, or to overcome this hard period after the first years of gaining independence. And as of today, Estonian animation is one of the most interesting, most popular animation schools in the world. So, our today conversation, I would like to tell you about first the situation of the 90s, how it took place in the studio, how this film was invented. Preet, the floor is yours. Hello? Yeah, I already waved. I would like to say, since the very beginning, that when we have the workshop, then it seems that the master is beginning to teach how you should do a movie. It's vice versa. I would like just to remind myself, to remember, and to go along this way since the very beginning, how a little idea emerged, how it grew into a bigger idea, and then at some moment the film became ready. As for myself, every film was totally different, where the idea was from, how it developed, and how it was implemented. It means that there are no rules. Well, of course, the rules exist, something exists, but our conversation today is just a remembrance and explanation how this or that movie was created. As of the studio, as well as in all of the other republics, I think they had bigger studios. We had Tallinn Film, a kind of a factory where we created documentaries, feature films, and animation films. The animation films there were the departments of the drawn ones and puppet ones. Since 1976, I've been working in the department of the drawn films. And as for This film, Hotel E, yes, I'm in Hotel E. Then we had Tallinn film still. Those were kind of messy times. So I will begin with the previous film because very often it is rooted in the different things of the idea. Then those roots can be found in the films which were done before. So I will speak first about the movie Breakfast on the Grass. Breakfast on the Grass was written by me in 1983 when I would say, out of my memories, this was the strictest censorship during those times. And when I created this script, I knew that I won't be allowed to do that. But suddenly, the systems have changed. Comrade Gorbachev emerged, and someone of those who gave permits in the State Film Committee was replaced. So we were greenlit and we created Breakfast on the Grass in Tallinn Film. Though before the split of the Soviet Union, this film was ready in 1987. And there were still 4 years till the split of the Soviet Union. But for me, this film was as if you're watching back, a retrospective, that it really took place. After that, there were a bit of weird times beginning. The censorship, in fact, vanished, and the people, the guys and ladies who were saying, oh, they do not allow us to do anything, it turned out that they don't have anything in their shelves. Those were the golden times, and they almost never used it. What happened with me, Breakfast on the Grass, turned out to be very successful. And because of that, it was sent, as it was still done by the State Film Fund, it was sent to many festivals, and it got lots of prizes. Grand Prix in Tampere, main prize in Zagreb, and I traveled there. It was new for us as well, because usually, if this film was sent, just the state officials from Moscow mostly went there. And now this habit changed. Somehow I began traveling. Mostly, if the film gets a high award, then you are in the jury in the next festival. So, I was elected to the board of ASIFA. They called me to the workshops. In Finland, it turned out I had a huge exhibition there, so I began to sell my graphics there. So suddenly, I was not on the wheels, but with the wings. I was trying to get to and fro. And in fact, after Breakfast on the Grass, this was the third time when I decided that I will stop doing animation, and mostly I was dealing with graphics. These times were rather interesting. On the one hand, for me, I'd say this colored film, this world, which we can see in Hotel E, wasn't a big surprise. Till those times, we had an opportunity to get out from the Soviet Union. The film was at the festivals and you were sent there. Then, every month, one group of Soviet cinematographers flew to some festival, and then there was the tour through the FDR, and from Estonia there was a group which traveled to Germany. In 1989, I spent a month in the US with a program of my films all over the US. In 1990, I taught in Helsinki, and for 5 months I spent there. So, in fact, I knew this world a bit. But still, simultaneously, in the end of the 80s, those were turbulent changes in my home. If you didn't spend a week in Estonia and suddenly you come back, you did not understand what was taking place there. You had to sit down with someone and to listen what really took place, what's happened. So, here, my idea was growing that maybe I should create one more film between the two systems, feeling that, oh, I should get along this way, that I need to get back home. I was playing with those ideas and maybe the push. Well, but now I'm saying that all of that was 30 years ago. I didn't have any notes from those times. And my memory can be lying, in fact. I used to say that if I said something before, it is getting to my mind and I'm repeating that. But then I read about that and remembered about that. The producer of this film, Ola Vozolin, was my friend. He was working in an advertisement company, and we created an ad video which won the Bronze Lion in Cannes. So once we got to a very weird festival. We did not understand what was there. And it turned out that we were in the hotel. That was an interesting hotel named Admiral Nelson, which looked like a ship of the 18th century. There were decks there and guns. So we drank a bottle of whiskey there. And in the morning he said that they made a deal, that I hired him as a producer. Well, if we drank more, we wouldn't make this film. And I think now that if it was the spring semester, I was spending May in Helsinki, then in summer we went to Stockholm, and then in autumn of the 90s, I began to write my script. The film was ready in 1991 in December. We decided to appoint the year when it was produced, the year of production of 1992. Otherwise, we would lose a year. So, we were working on this film for a bit more than a year. And it was done in this way. We began during the Soviet times. We had rubles as currency, and the money were coming from Moscow. In 1991, in August, Estonia announced about its independence. There was the coup in Moscow in August. Gorbachev vanished and Yeltsin emerged. As far as I understand, the money still were going from Moscow. So we paid salaries to the people in Moscow money. But Mr. Rosalind had a friend in Finland. In some multimedia group. So they invested Finnish money. And during those times, the situation was that all the process of production was very cheap if we compare it with how it used to be in the West. So Finnish money, which were not that substantial, were still enough for us to provide everything material, the film, the voiceover or the dubbing, all the materials and equipment, the paints, the process of film development was paid with Finnish money. So then, I think Tallinn Film was dispersed in 1992. And both animation groups were still saved. We did not create the one-man studio. We still had the structure of a studio, which was very important. It's not that easy to disperse and then to gather people again. It took place in the former Soviet republics, in the east of Europe. Animation in each of the countries was very strong, but then it turned out to be the black hole. So we created about 40 minutes of animation per year still, as it used to be. And for the cartoon film, it was a kind of a bridge, which gave us an opportunity to overcome these times when we didn't have our own funding, but the Soviet one vanished already. And then the Ministry of Culture began to pay something. Then they created the Film Foundation, and it has gained the strong basis, the solid basis. Okay. So as for my experience from the West, I've been there before, I saw it all before, but still I need to add that in Estonia, since 1976, when we first got a TV set, I was watching Finnish TV, and Finnish TV, well, I think it had impact. What happened with Estonia after the Soviet Union? There was a huge role played by what we saw on the Finnish TV. Then I began to understand how democratic world is working and functioning, which systems it gains, what does it mean elections or parties, political parties. So now I'm trying to gradually come to the topic of the colored world in the Hotel E movie. I had some experience with it, but on the other hand, I had some experience in black and white world. For the whole life which I spent in Estonia, as I was studying as a biologist in Tartu, we had practice and we had a group going for hike trips, especially during the winter. Those were ski trips to Sajani and Kolski Peninsula. So it means that I could see this so-called big motherland from different perspectives. For 2 months I was in the expedition in Chukotka. But neither a colorful world nor black and white world are the documentaries. Animation is something which needs abstraction, abstracts. And now, when I began to create this structure of the film, it was rooted there. I needed a person who was between two systems. I was this person till some point, but I needed to abstract myself first. So it should have been a person, obviously, from the system A, that is black and white world is system A. And now when we are speaking, no one names them like that. But when you create animation, there are lots of characters, and they should have a name. Because when you have the folders with materials, they are moving from the animator to the processor. So you say, you should take this character and that. So we give the names to them. So the person who was beginning this way, we named him Victor. And it turned out that almost in every movie I have a Victor. In this one as well. Anna and Yuli as well. So now, how do I work? This person, he decided to get from the system A to system B. But as it was predetermined that he is kind of a pendulum, he is going to and fro, to and fro. So the question, why is he transferring first? And secondly, why is he coming back? So now the questions about those systems. System A, is it changing or not? System B, does it change or not? You need to get through all of those transitions. If it changes, then how? If it does not change, then why doesn't it? This is how you create a very strict structure. And in each of the moments, you need to make your own choice. As for the colorful system, we never name it as a West. If we have the letter E and we have Hotel Europa somewhere, then I understand that we are speaking about Europe. If we look at this system from within, then it seems that everything is ready there. There is nothing too turbulent there. If you're there for a week or half a year, you don't see any blustering development to this or that way. Everything is rotating very slowly. Everything is cool and beautiful. But the biggest question for me turned out to be, why? Why does this person come back? There are different options. Someone can be between two systems. It could be about one and the same person. One person goes to the left, another to the right, and he's just between them. Or it's a superhero who gets from one system and makes an order in a different system. Those ideas did not suit me. Those systems with the colored film and black and white world were the model of Europe for me during these times, because I didn't know where to move on to. On the other hand, it was maybe not even the model, but both of those sides were caricatures, because they were almost absurd. We'll come to that when we begin discussing how we created it. But as for the question why he comes back, there is an interesting phenomenon here. When you try to solve some issue and you're really into that in a hard-working way, then this task sits deep down in your brain and begins to live there, to move there on its own. Because I used to be an caricature artist. So when you try to invent a joke out of that, to think of the caricature, you can spend more than 3 hours there. And very often you wake up in the morning and it is ready. It came on its own. So as for the question, why does he come back? I don't remember the date, maybe it was the 5th of May, but I used to be in Norway. It was 12 p.m. and somehow I could see a round table and the clock. It's obvious that I thought, come back is connected with time, and time is connected with the clock. So at some moment, he should come back. You try to control that and you check from all of the sides whether it suits or not. So I understood that this is it. All the rest is just almost automatic. That this is the round table where we can see the hand of the clock. The people are sitting there. They need to have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. So how did I get that it's a good idea? Because this is a really dumb system. Who is the driver of this machine, I thought? There is some invisible force there. But it turns out, if you do not comply with those idiotic rules, you will be severely punished. So I decided to invent what's the punishment and how it is done. There is a very specific job in that. You choose different solutions, and then you take what it seems for you to be the most suitable. I understood that this is a kind of a structure of authoritarian system. There is, for instance, some invisible dictator maybe this is not what's working. Maybe we need some collective body to manage through these threads. You are being checked, you are being punished. It is done in an invisible way as well. As I said, it's just a technique. Then he's just leaving. He needs to come back when the hand of the clock is coming. And then there are the questions. How different structures are behaving. So what happens in this system B or the Western world? I thought, but I thought just now, that maybe I remember that when I was selected for the first time into this colorful world, and there was someone unhappy there with some problems, I saw that you have such genes. That is why you are unhappy. So in this world, when everybody left, all of the joy was connected with things, with your belongings. You needed some tools to work with. You needed a brush or the paint of the tube of yellow paint. So when you bought it as an object, you were happy. So you explained that people cannot be unhappy when they have all of the necessary things. Then it means that finally, in the end of the day, what is happening there? The people there are beautiful, but they're still unsatisfied. Dissatisfied because they lack something. They still want something. They want to, for instance, to send a letter to a close and beloved relative. They want to put the golf ball into the hole. And they fail. So they repeat these actions. So what used to be, in fact, I created the system where you needed one more hand there. They felt the lack of one person, and this person is coming either in the wrong time or in the wrong place. But they still go on suffering with their little problems. Simultaneously, the other side is a very strict one. They are being punished. I need to think, how should I go on? I think that as for this colorful world, it is like that. They need one more person, one more character. And finally, Victor has to appear in the proper time to do what is expected from him. But what will happen later, there are some options about that. And as it was a huge problem about the round table, another issue was what will happen with this black and white world? Because I remind you, I created it in 1990, 1991, when the Soviet Union crashed We created post-production already. So the whole story was already ready. But what will happen with the black and white system? We know it now, but then there were different trends. Whether we move there, or maybe we don't move at all. And in the end of the day, I created it in a way that those persons and characters which first were looking totally similar, they are faceless, they don't have a face, then, well, why is a different question. But they begin to become people, human beings, through some stage. Visually, they are becoming some kind of monsters, and then you may think that there will be happy end. And it seemed to me that there can be such a solution which works for me, is that this system begins its stagnation. If they were already becoming human beings who have a face, and some of them would also like to follow Victor, and it seems that the system has become weaker. It does not control how it should. And then it turns out that we feel nostalgia about this system. In the end of the day, they are sitting around this table. They don't look like monsters. They look like boringly drawn persons looking totally similar. And then the hand of the clock stopped, but they were still using those cups and raising them rhythmically. But as I told, it was 30 years ago. Nobody knew where it all will go on. And when I created the speech today for the Today workshop, the idea emerged that maybe it is modern Russia. The full stagnation, 70% are still supporting the war in Ukraine, but no one wants to take part in this war. So they have the full apathy. Did I foresee that, in fact? It was surprising even for myself. Maybe should we try and show a bit, let's try and show the development of the characters. Nikita, do you see them on the screen? Yes, we do. So this is from the beginning, when they were still faceless. And if we go along this way, this is the end of this prologue, and this is our protagonist. So everyone around the table are faceless. But then finally some similar things, kind of eyes and mouth emerge. I was trying to draw them as scary as possible. Some resemblance of the face. This is one step forward. Yes, those steps are wider to illustrate the thing. They're becoming humans. They feel some of the feelings. You see, two noses, three eyes. This is the protagonist with the letter A. By the way, as for the A letter, tell it about A. Yes, this was one of the questions. If there were 20 or how many of them around the table, they were looking totally similar, but one of them is our protagonist. So it first begins slowly, but we need to get to know that that's him. We need to recognize him. It means that if I put a yellow boot on him, we will see it only when we show his legs under the table. Then there should be something on his face. So I had this kind of a drawing. I don't remember whether it was an illustration where instead of the nose there was the letter of A. And I tried it here and I understood that it was working. Because on the one hand, he just knitted it to his face. Then when he needs it, he can take it away. But still, A is the first letter in the alphabet, so he is the first to go. So the emergence, when he is climbing up the leg to the collar. Well, I'm going to the back now, to the side now, about the creation of the systems. Could you please come back to the previous slide? So here, obviously, they are observing something or afraid of something. Somehow they put their fingers in the mouth as if they're a little child or a person under permanent stress, right? So if this colorful system, and I'm leading to that, and I will tell which tricks we used there, but this black and white system, as far as I understood, should be scary, disgusting, and incomprehensible. There are things taking place there which are impossible to be explained logically, and we don't need to. Because what do we see? If we see that one beast is devouring another one, then we understand this picture. It may be scary, but every moment when you open the mouth is just the detail which is not that important. So I needed to invent the elements which are rather unexpected, disgusting, and scary. And if they touch this system, according to the logics, it cannot be explained. It's both about the pig behind the window, which is headless, which shouldn't move in fact, but it is moving. There was the sailor. So your question was, what does this baby symbolize? In his cap, with the word Aurora, and with a grenade in his hands. I think that if we look at the pictures from Russia, where little children are putting on the attire of the World War II warrior, and when the baby carriage looks like a tank, but it used to be like that. It is happening now. It was 1989, it was the 90s when you invented that. It was not like that then. But I was born in 1946, so I know different things. So if you see that, then you know that this character can be under the table only in the Soviet Union or in Russia. But when in the end he looks the same, very fat one, well fed, and is sitting in the same position, then I think that something is scary there. If the baby with little hands is holding the grenade, there were different details which we used or not, and it seemed to us that there is the question emerging who he is. Can we explain that this is the surreal detail which is helping to create the image of this absurd and cruel world? Well, this world is surreal. This is just one element of it. But you create it. You have a pig, you have this baby. Well, it can be a debate, in fact. Because I think that surrealism is not a big friend with logics. And what we can see here in the final option, we can logically interpret it. This is the system which is controlling and making its subordinates do scary things, awful things, or idiotic things, or both simultaneously. Well, but it can't be the symbol of revolution, like Aurora the ship. When we look at this mug, what do you mean? Which revolution could it be? It's not a cruiser, in fact. If it's a baby and we are waiting that it grows, then it can become a revolution. But here we can see that it grew. Well, yes, it has blown. Yes, it has become bigger. It has become fat. It's bloating. But the face is still the same, so he's still the baby. It's some dangerous force, the grenade in the hands of a baby. Wait, I'm thinking, well, this is the beginning. That's an interesting moment, by the way. But I can explain it why. He already came away, went away and came back for several times already. And he brought a colorful stone here. He shows them, but they don't respond, they don't react. They take his cup, so they, in fact, already threw him away from the system. And then they make this weird ritual, this weird movement. And he does not associate with them because he does not understand what they're doing. He's not involved in their circle. So, if I remember correctly, they break his arms, and with those hollow head, they take him away, but not through the door, but through the river. And they're trying to get through it, three of them. Those who are with him, they want to get there as well, but they don't let him go because it's their job to break the arms. Then they understand that they don't need him, they will go themselves. They will fall from the bridge, then we can see the water, and there are graves on the second bank. So those could be kind of KGB agents. Well, in fact, they wanted to leave as well. So, by the way, their heads, and this is the episode with those crosses where they fell down to. They will go to a different shore, and those are their crosses. He is going, and the snow is going, so this is the beginning of the film, where the introduction is taking place. The legend about the traitor, this is the prologue, right? So first it was a kind of a joke. But we came to conclusion, why not? It's kind of a synopsis of a first world and the second one, where the traitor was looking, noticed the door, and it turned out to be a crime when he understood himself that he is a traitor and he leaves. I had this picture before. It had the name of the snow when the person was going with these armed and into the big pile of snow. You had the illustration like this, and you also had an engraving or a print like this. Yes, he's going to this colorful world, and someone is coming. Yes, the one of the Redeemer from the dark world. He's a traitor, but in the colorful, he's a Redeemer, a Savior. So he's coming and giving to those with the cups, with the glasses. There is one character missing, and it is repeated in the long way all over the film. And this long table in the colorful room, is it the Last Supper reference by Leonardo? Well, in the beginning, yes. We will come to this painter, Miller, who created all the colors in this film. He definitely meant it, but it's not important. It's not important because in the colorful way, but this horizontal long table, when did it emerge? After you invented a round table, right? Yes, there is the beginning. When you're coming there, you need to invent the end. Let me find it. Yes, there was a shot of it. So this option, that in fact, I would say it's, how can I say, a kind of nihilistic approach. That in fact, this colorful world is the same. They were stuck in their little issues, but they need to get around the table. And when they are sitting at the table, they are repeating that. That was a round table, but it's with higher technological quality. The beam and the electronics is there under the table. So all of this story comes to the point that there is no big difference between the worlds. Well, of course, there is a big difference. But then I decided that this kind of an ending suits our film. And really, lots of people were irritated by that. We were asked who you are to show us who we are. How dare you? So when the film was ready in 1992, this kind of topics were not mostly mentioned in the animation films, and the documentaries from the countries of the ex-Soviet camp went to the West were showing that, how scary life was there, how awful was the life was in this black and white world. And then suddenly the film appeared, which said that there is no difference. Not everyone liked it. Well, you cannot separate yourself from this black and white world. And that as well. And I'm surprised myself now. Because in fact, I'm surprised that this film is still, if someone told that in 30 years your film is still relevant, I would say that in 30 years no one should remember you or your film, but it is still relevant. The thing is that then it was not relevant. When those, plenty of those black and white were knocking the door. So much time passed. They said it's the film technique from Poland because maybe in 10 years it has become an issue. I don't know whether it's an issue, but if they were the sound technicians, they would come back to Poland. Well, he is Victor, but again, during those times, it was my kind of fantasy that it takes place. Though the animation world, especially during the past times, was very democratic, very friendly and open. There were no superstars and celebrities there. The teacher could drink beer with the students at the same table. But later I understood one more thing, that this film, as Hotel E, like Hotel E, or Gabriella, or Half an Hour, were done by a studio. Not with commercial aims, but a kind of a feature project, an art product. So the person from the West who was doing 6-minute film for 4 years on his own and is getting to the festival, and there he can see half an hour of the fireworks. In the titles in the hotel, 29 persons I saw yesterday, they created this kind of the wash, in fact. So when you are in the jury, you are first surprised. But then, when you can see that so many people are creating just background shading, that it's not fair. In all of the further films in 1895, in Life Without Gabriella Ferry, there was not a single little diploma or award. Everybody is so strict about that. So ANSI is a very political correct. Yes, political correctness is one of the options. It's the option to demolish the competitors. All of the members of the jury have their favorites. When one competitor was just falling out, it would become easier. Nikita, I do apologize. I was searching for this shot and now I found it. What you asked, whether this is the reference to the Last Supper of Leonardo. Well, it's not the copy. Yes. All of the workers of our studio are here. So this is the Miller. We don't see the shot. So could you show the picture with the table? Okay, yes, now we can see it. Okay, cool. So this is Millard, the artist. All of those people, in fact, are Yonis, yes, the background shaders, the animators. Priit, where are you? Maybe this is you. And in fact, where did we have it? Let me find this shot when they give the things to each other. And this is Priit. And this is Kusti. So the question is, what did Kusti do? He was responsible for... Let me explain how it was done. We drew these characters from the film for the colorful world. He was responsible for the films. They were very numerous. Half of the room was filled with them. And this is Priit. So this is the rotoscope. You put on this costume and you were playing this role? No, I don't think I put it on. Yeah, well, we need to explain here that Miller is an artist and he is famous with. Well, let me finalize it. I will explain how it was done. There were black and white pictures there, and he was drawing on the celluloid film, which was put on the picture, on the photo. So he added it with his layer of painting. Let me show one more good photo which we found today. Do you see it? No, we don't. So this is the picture. So could you please tell? So this young person in the glasses, this one, is the camera director. And later he has become a film director himself. He's used to be a DP, now he created the full-length feature films, and the one between them is the film critic. He left us for the better worlds. And the one to the right is the young Miller Kilk. And by the way, look at the glasses here. They are green. Those are the glasses which can be seen in the legend in the beginning, in the prologue, from the colorful world which they are giving to each other and pouring wine into them. Priit and Kaya had these kind of glasses, but unfortunately we lost all of them now. They are all broken already. And Miller has a little glass in front of him. We were in Czechoslovakia, in Prague, with my wife, and the local caricature artist wanted to give us something. He took the box with those glasses, Czech glasses, and somehow his wife was saying, Irje, Irje, this is our wedding gift. But Irje said, it used to be a wedding gift. Now it's not. And gave it as a gift to us. So they survived, these glasses still exist, but the green ones did not survive. So was this picture done at the studio? No, it was done at my place. And here, I found it today online. This is Priit, and this is Janno. So in fact, it was written that this is the breakfast on the grass. These are the times of the breakfast on the grass, or at least around it. And Janno, we have a suspicion with Priit that this is the camera which he used to create Hotel E. Unfortunately, we don't have this device anymore to show it to you, but this was the device which we used layer by layer assembling Hotel E, the camera of 35 millimeters which created it. And here, Janno is so young. Here you can see this kind of a classical device for the cartoon drawing animation. Yes, the celluloid shooting, classical one. But in case of Hotel E, it was not this kind of a device. It was the multi-layer device. Yes, right, Priit? Yes, in Tallinn we had, what was the name? The factory for cinema equipment. And we constructed the device there. The part of the table was moving to the right and to the left, and the layers were moving up and down. You needed to establish how many layers you needed. But could you please tell the structure of Hotel E? You said that those two rooms are the hotel. When did it emerge? But there were only two rooms there. It's not a hotel, right? Well, honestly speaking, I don't remember that when it emerged as an idea. Because this was the moment when that you are between. As I was moving along Europe, Maybe this is Hotel Europe as an idea since the very beginning. The thing is that there are only two rooms there. The structure of the film doesn't need more. Right. So it could be a little hotel with two little rooms. Okay, but why still you have the E letter? It seemed to me that to distort Hotel Europe is a bit too much. I thought that it was in one place, but today I found out another place where we have the key, and it is written on the key Hotel Europe. But this font is tiny, and it emerges for a very short period of time. So it's just a hint. So you should say Europe. Could you please tell about this kind of animation, Disney-like animation? When did you invent it and who created it? I will come to that now. This colorful world begins with the prologue of American Dream. Well, it's an epilogue already. Yes, epilogue, right. We can see it as an epilogue. But throughout the whole film, the guy who is lying there with his legs on the table is trying to look. And someone is constantly appearing there, and he is telling, hey, get out. And only in the end, when their world was totally broken, when their world was totally failing and crashing, we need to say that all of those colorful frames and shots are saturated with the fragments from the European culture and art. And it means that we can see it from the TV, kind of Tom and Jerry series. And when this Europe crashed, crumbled, then we can see the US, if someone interprets it like this. So I drew it in my storyboard. It was animated by Nelly Sabule. He began his work at our studio, and then he was working for a long time in Copenhagen at the studio of our film Denmark. And there is one more name of Hans Perk, who was the head of this studio. So they created animation, and it was too slow. So I had to rewrite almost everything to make it quicker. You cut the editing process? No, no. There were the exposition, yes, the exposition sheets, right. So I had to change all of that. So that's the DPE doing. Those were the exposure sheets. So let me show a bit about this colorful world, because, well, I think we'll tell about it. Well, we are short of time already. How much time do we have? Well, 20 minutes max. Okay, then let us move to this colorful world. We can begin here because we can see the characters. Well, let's begin from there. The first task, which was appointed, what is happening there and how? The question how it looks like and the question whether it's colorful or not and what are the colors. The next question is the animation itself. How is it animated? because both parts should be different in all of the parameters. And for the colorful, we shot the actors live. Some of them were professional actors, some of them were just friends. And at this shot, we can see professional actors, all of them except the man with the mustache and the dark glasses. This is my friend, the photographer from Finland. This is Timo. This actress is Maria Avdushko, guitarant. Kaja Mikkelson. They are professional actors and actresses. So let's move to what was done by Walter Kostin. Well, he was not doing, he was controlling the process. So we were shooting the actors on video and they were moving. They were never doing any of the straight moves. But if they could make this kind of move, they would do that. So then, at some of the places, then we slowed down those movements in some of the illogical places. And how did we made it? The transitions, yes. Shall we show this episode? Well, let's try. It could be a kind of dissolve a view or a wipe. Well, while you're searching, I will be telling. Okay. So we shot it on the video. We were rushing and putting this picture from a very old black and white TV set. It was hard to find out what's there. And it was shot for the black and white 35 millimeters. When this outcome was projected through the mirror, those were the tables with the horizontal glass, and this image was projected through the mirror, and this image was so bad, it was simplified. I would just say it was bad, in fact. So if you wanted to draw an ear with all the details, or something else, just the fingers, you couldn't just find the difference. We will see it now. We saw the hair, the lips, we don't see it now. Okay, now we can see it. So let me bring it back. So we will show the video first. Here you can see those dissolve of views and cross dissolve. So you see the hand is going up there, then the elbow, and it can be done in the more rational way. She also has the letter A. Why not A? To have the question, why does she have this A as well? So you can see here all of the dissolves and this exaggerated approach. So you can see sometimes they fail, but still they enjoy their movements. It's so beautiful. So we're coming there. So they drew it in the way for us to show the result, for us to see this kind of result. Let me show how this layout looked like. Could we please see the layout? Do we see it? Yes. So it was drawn from the image. It was redrawn. You can see how many details there can be seen there. That is merely when we in fact restored the image. So this woman used to be an actress. Then she studied for a diplomat and we met her in Canada. She was an Estonian ambassador, Gita, in Canada. So we gave her a celluloid with her image. And she said that it was the best direction of actors, film direction of actors in her career. You were managing her in so many details that it was easy for her, right? They were making some moves, and the one who took out the letter, later she throws the bottle. So we noticed the following. The actors, the good actors, are not controlling their body. When you're doing something with your right hand, you can do something with your left as well. And when she was throwing a bottle, I was holding her hand with my two arms. I animated her arm for her to make this move, and then I drew it. We can see, in fact, the shots from the same film on the background. Yes, it's from a totally different place. What we can see in this episode when they're giving the vase will still take place later. Those are the tricks. That's why I really like this part, this bit, because in fact here you can see what's the line here. You have a proper black one, and here the characters from the colorful part, they have the gray contour. To the left there is ink. If you know what rapidograph is for the architects, this gray ink couldn't be found, so I had to mix it on my own. I had to take the liquid acryl, and whatever we shot, we brought the film to Helsinki, then we developed it there, and when we developed this contour, it has become too bright. This outline had a very interesting effect, as if it's out of focus. It has become too bright, it has become gray. If the outline is brighter than the spot itself, it seems to be out of focus. It was very hard to find the proper color for this outline. And these colors for the moving characters, Miller had the idea that they shouldn't be that numerous. Yes, the colors. There should be a certain number. I don't remember whether there were 11 of them or 13 of them. So, as for the backgrounds, there were more of them. If we speak about the backgrounds, it was done that some of them, part of them, were drawn with a ruler. And if it's an architect, it was drawn from some of the squares from this topic. Yes, it's done from the opposite side. You see, here you can see it. These lines on the floor are poured and painted. Only some of them are painted. The same happens with the door or with the pictures. We inserted pieces of paper or specially done Jackson Pollock kind of Miller's works. Here was the background left, and this is the shot from the film. So just Jackson Pollock was just as the sofa. He made it on celluloid, he poured it on the floor as a big piece, and it was too thick. It was too thick as plywood, so it couldn't be used. I went to Helsinki, and we didn't have the laser copy. Yeah, here it is. This was the result. In fact, this is the copy. It's not Pollock. It's just the copy. So we needed to explain why we did it. We wanted this colorful world to look as very luxurious or saturated. And we were trying to make it abundant and plentiful. We took it from different magazines of interior design. So we drew some of the luxurious and abundant interiors. And when we poured paint on them, all the lines were very empty and boring. Then we came to this result, that this kind of a skeleton was done like this. The very specific lines, when the part between the lines was poured, and then we had colored sheets of paper, the ones which Miller did, and on the other side, he made it as painting. We can see the hunters there, the vase, some of it is poured, some part of it is empty, and behind the pink, or above the pink, we can see the inserted part a bit with an embedment. And up there in the middle, we can see a random bit above. We had such bits, or if we had this pouring of the celluloid, we take away this paint with such cut edges, and when the whole picture was done, we added it, in fact. So in fact, we spoiled this approach. And your question about the letter was the same. About the same. When now we have computers, it is not done anymore. But there was an Etroset, a company, which for instance had letters, different patterns. Here we could see different letters, and if you just brought it there, there is a number there, so it's stuck there. So they don't need anything. Yes, you're just looking there, and you just not stopping every frame, you won't notice that. What does it? What is it? It's just here some graphic bits to add this abundance. And when you look through it closely, you understand what that is. But when the film is moving, you can see the moving object and you understand that under this source, it's a different thing. Priit, could you please tell, you told me that in your films you're taking part as an animator. Some of the scenes are done by yourself. But as for the list of animators, for Hotel E, I could not see you in the titles as the animator. Yes, I think I was not an animator there. Let me add that, for instance, Priit animated the actors. So, in fact, Priit was a choreographer. He was precisely explaining where they were standing, and you even animated some of the hands. We needed the precise movement of the hand, which Priit knew how it should move. And as we are now making a film with the actors, I watched the same process. Priit has this precision and this concrete understanding of how it like to be seen, and he knows how to explain it well. The same happened in Hotel E. He was just not in the titles. No one thought about that. Well, we didn't need me to be mentioned there. Why can't we? Well, because it's the film director work or the choreographer work. Thank you so much. We're almost out of time. So, in the end, I'd like to ask you a couple of words about the restoration of the film, because I know it was recently, in fact, restored. So, how does it correspond to the option which exists before, with the original? I think it is very well renewed and restored. whatever was filmed, well, was shot with the film and what was Miller trying to do with the paints. On the one hand, his idea was for all of them to be suiting each other, harmonized, and we wanted them to be not that bright, but for it to be a kind of the palette which is pastel. And when you look at it, you're becoming nauseated a bit. And on the big screen, on the film, this effect really was working. If you are looking on the monitor, I would say that they are very gay and bright. Well, this is the thing is that, as it was mentioned before, when you translate the genius novel from one language to another one, it is still genius one because within it all the ratios are still the same. This contrast is the same. So Olga said that you still had all of those little scraps on the film, that you decided not to get rid of all of the scrapes and scratches. Well, yes. Well, there was the case then in the one of the previous films when it was shot, some of the paints, some of the colors was developed in the wrong way. So yes, the green color turned out to be brown. So when we restored it in more details, the DP asked Preet, "How would you like it to have? I can bring back green." But Preet said, what did Preet say? Let it be how it was on the film. Let it be brown. Well, because it's an artwork already. The Soviet film was a kind of a surprising one. It was a triangle, and we wanted it to be a bright blue costume on the person. So we created the color what we wanted to see, but when we shot it, it turned out to be different. So we wanted to make a paint for when it is developed, it is becoming a light blue. We coped, but it could happen that for half of the movie you had a different batch of film, and then it would be different. Okay, thank you so much for your story. It was very interesting, but we need to conclude it was very interesting. Thank you. This was the Linoleum Festival, Ukraine. This was Priit from Estonia and Olga, his wife. Thank you for the conversation. All the best to you. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes.